Meet Regis Le Bris, the softly spoken professional head coach who's turned doubt into belief. When he was first appointed, many fans were underwhelmed. A coach fresh from relegation in France didn't exactly scream Premier League return. But less than a year later, Sunderland have ended their 8-year exile from the top flight with a stunning playoff win against Sheffield United. He's won over the fans, not just with results, but with his calm personality, sharp mind, quiet charm, smiles, patience, and a clear footballing philosophy. This is not just a promotion story. This is the rise of Regis Le Bris. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Denied by the Crossbar podcast. I'm Daryl, your host. I'm joined by Lee. How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad.
I like to see that although the sun's not shining, Daryl, you are. Absolutely outstanding jumper there, mate.
I thought I'd be a ray of sunshine for the pod today, bring a bit of brightness. The weather's changing, so I thought I'd brighten up a bit, Come on.
Yeah. Might need some sunglasses halfway through, mate.
What's that?
Might need to put some sunglasses on halfway through.
That's cheeky. Come on. All right, guys. Today we're going to do a talk on Regis Le Bris, the Sunderland manager. He has done a great job since coming up, so we thought we'd do a pod representing him. And yeah, let's get stuck into it. Lee, we've heard the name. We've seen what you've done. He's gotten promoted. Regis Le Bris, who actually is he?
Yeah, he's a French coach who's kept his whole career over in France. He was a player as well. 49 years old and only recently had his name out in the media due to his appointment at Sunderland. But he's not just a football manager. He's actually a scientist. In fact, he's got a doctorate. He's studied sports physiology and biomechanics and then taken that into his football game and his football coaching. Basically, he's understanding a lot more on the side of like running, jumping, striking the ball, right. Works that into his coaching. It's like developing at a young level with this mentality to keep them fitter for longer. And it's clearly working. We can see it already in how the youngsters, the injuries at Sunderland, how they're looking, how they're managing to outplay other teams. Perhaps that's because of they're staying fit for longer in the full 90 minutes. So it's quite interesting. He's the only doctor to be managing in the Premier League. And as far as I know, he's the only doctor to have ever managed in the Premier League. So it's quite a nice, unique stance. And it's a good talking point on Regis.
Yeah, so you said biomechanics. That sounds complicated to me. What does that actually mean in football terms on how that changed the football environment? What does that do?
It's basically how you understand the actual body and how most managers would tell a player, run hard, press more. He breaks down how you run, where you put your foot, how you spring off your leading leg, how to accelerate, how to turn your hips when changing direction. And it's these slight things that he can change and he can talk about and focus on with players. That means they use slightly less energy, they get injured less, execute skills more effectively. And these young players that he brought into Sunderland have already bought into it. They're straight in because they can see this improvement. And I think fans, without knowing this, have seen these things, but haven't actually understood why they've seen these things.
But as you can see, with even last year with Sunderland, when they came up, their output generally is a lot more. It's more running. It's more physical. You can see they've got more energy about them. You've heard that from the fans. Yeah. They look more energetic. They run longer. They run harder. So obviously all these little tweaks makes a big difference in football. It can change a lot in how you look at the game and things that you do in the game as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really interesting. Okay, so how did that play out when it came to Sunderland in the Championship? Lee, talk to me.
Well, I think his appointment was a bit odd because he came to Sunderland after being relegated. But he joined Sunderland and in their first 12 games, they won 9. He got 2 Manager of the Month awards. And obviously, as we know, they finished 4th, went through the playoffs and finally beat Sheffield United at Wembley and got promotion into the Prem. So, I mean, to jump into a team like Sunderland with such a rich history, who have struggled to find the right man to do the job to bring them back into the big time, I mean, they did it straight away with Regis, and he's had such a positive impact on the fans and the squad.
So it took 8 years to get them back. They had documentaries. They had documentaries where they were going down. They meant to be coming up and they went down.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
I mean, it's so nice to see how he's come in, and you could see his impact so quickly with his tactics, passing triangle, structure, possession, sharp counter-attacks, a big trust in the youth. There was a lot of youth already at Sunderland. Chris Rigg, I think, being a key player, but Joe Bellingham, who's now obviously gone on, but another young player that's so good. So even like all the way up into the playoff, you could see that counter-attacking and just that, I don't know, it looked like a bit of a different style for the Championship. We see a lot of gritty football in the Championship. He came with a bit of flair, and it worked very well.
Yeah, he came over, bought that French flair. Like you said, it's interesting that I know they sold a lot of their players in his last season. Was it Lorient? Was it? He got relegated. I'm sure the Sunderland fans were thinking, "What? You've got someone relegated from League One, and you're bringing him to the Championship, which is a tough league to take on." You know, we all know how tough the Championship is to come out of. So to get him promoted that's crazy. What an achievement.
It's very good, isn't it? Obviously. Yeah. And then they've obviously, with that promotion, they've been able to spend. Regis has been able to bring in the players that he wants at the club, which is a lot of people slagged it off, actually. Said he brought in too many people. It was so much of a new team. Are they going to do well? As we've seen how well they've currently been doing in the Premier League, that maybe give the guy some credit, because everyone seems to have said, oh, if you bring in this many players, you start a whole new fresh team, it doesn't work. Well, they're ninth now, 11 points in 6 it was. So they've done very well early on in the Premier League with this new team, this fresh squad of young and experienced players.
I'll be honest, we have discussed London a few times. I was one of the skeptics. I always think that you want to strike a balance when you come up. You want to, obviously, the players that got you into the Premier League, they're not at that Premier League standard. So you want to make the squad better, enhance the quality of the squad, but you don't want to damage the harmony, the players that have helped get you there. You don't want to discard them to make them feel not wanted from the club. So you want to keep that balance there. And I think they signed like 7 or 8 players, didn't they? They signed quite a lot of players.
Yeah, they did. It was almost a whole starting 11 changed.
Well, there's that many. So I know that they signed quite a lot of players. It's hard to integrate all those players, get them all learning, reading off the same hymn sheet at the same time. But it looks like he integrated them really well. They've had an amazing start to the season. So now that we're in the Premier League, how does his biomechanics and all that prepare them to step up into the Premier League?
So we said about the recruitment. He's done so well with that. He's brought in this youth. There's a lot of players there with high potential, Premier League proven. Players like Adingra, who have obviously been playing at Brighton, brought him in, giving him a solid first-team performances. They've got Granit Xhaka, who's just an absolute Premier League wall in the DM position. Been there, done that, went over to Bayer Leverkusen, did an invincible season, and now he's come to Sunderland to use that experience. He's got a proper football head on his shoulders. Just seasoned players like that alongside the youngsters, it's really worked well really quickly. And we've seen so early on, they beat West Ham 3-0, fantastic game of football. What a way to come into the Premier League. But also coming from a goal down, losing positions and coming back and scoring late on in games, things like that. It's that mentality that you need. So the more experienced players bring that mentality and that drive, and the youngsters have that energy, that passion and that high potential to continue this going on for the next 5, 10, 15 years, hopefully.
I agree. I think Granit Xhaka coming back, him getting Granit Xhaka to leave championship winning side in Germany to lure him over here, I think that's a masterstroke, if I'm honest with you, because he's brought him as a captain. I think Granit Xhaka is such a great signing because I think in the back of his mind, he's got a point to prove to the Premier League. I know he left Arsenal, he was playing well, but he left, went to Bayern, done really good job, come back as captain. So listen, you're a young player at Sunderland, you're looking at Granit Xhaka, he's just come back from basically overthrown in Bayern Munich in an unbeaten season. We know what it's like over there. It's a lot of times a one league team. So to dethrone them and go unbeaten, win a few cups as well, they're looking at him as he's a god. We can learn from this guy. He's going to lead us. He can lead our battle against relegation. Well, that's what it's meant to be. At the moment, it doesn't seem like that, though, you know?
Yeah, and you saying about the battle against relegation, well, I've seen a stat recently. No team has actually been relegated from the point Sunderland are currently sat in, 11 points from 6. No team's ever been relegated from that. So now perhaps they need to be looking at the positives here. It's not a relegation season. Can they finish mid-table? Can they have a strong run towards the end of the season and actually go on to qualify for Europe? Wolves did it, didn't they, when they got promoted last time? So it is possible, and it's something that they should look at, because be realistic, don't over-exaggerate on stuff, but at the same time, they're 9th. Why can't they keep pushing on? And with this philosophy and this coach, I think they really could do it.
They started the season off really well with a win against West Ham. How do you think the level of that squad, of all those signings, how do you think that's taken the squad up to another level?
Yeah, I mean, when we saw the West Ham game, I think it was a bit of a shock to everyone. West Ham, obviously, we've seen throughout the season, haven't performed amazing at all. But 3-0, what a statement to start. The squad now has 16 full internationals in that squad. It's something that you don't see across a lot of Premier League teams in the lower tier.
Especially one that's just come from the Championship as well,
That's what I was going to say. It's like a lot of the time it takes that bit of time. You slowly get someone in who's maybe a captain for a smaller nation, and you see that in lower Premier League squads. But what they've gone and done is they've got a lot of AFCON players, but they've also got a lot of older players who are performing well for their national team. Granit Xhaka being one, obviously, a first name on the team sheet for both club and country now. So I think you've got this smart youth development, the biomechanics, smart recruitment, and Le Bris has turned Sunderland from this Championship squad that has got promotion through playoffs, not through automatic, and now he's put them into one of the most exciting prospects in English football in the top flight. And it's very exciting to see what he's done so quickly. It's just over a year of him being at the club now.
Yeah, I think he's done an amazing job. I saw something earlier. They said I don't think they was at the top 6 all season last year. I think I read something like that, and I was quite shocked at that. So he must have done really well. And like I said, new manager, 1 year in, doesn't know the league, doesn't know the English format, the formations, the intensity. Personally, we've discussed it many times. The Championship is the toughest league, probably the toughest league in Europe, if I'm honest with you. It's so hard. There's so many teams, big teams down there, all fighting to get back into the Premier League. You've got the teams that's been relegated. That's got the your parachute payments. All these. There's so many big clubs down there fighting for that space. Sunderland are a massive. I'm happy that they're in the Premier League. We get to see that Tyne-and-Wear derby. We've discussed many times that stadium alight, the passion, the roar of the crowd. The Premier League's a better place for them. It's good. As a Liverpool fan, it's one of those grounds that you kind of, maybe not fear for a Liverpool fan, but I worry about going there. I'll go there, and I think I would want to win. I'll go to some other grounds you think we'll win there. I don't do that to Sunderland. I don't do that to Stadium Light. I don't go there thinking, yeah, that's a good win. I always think, yeah, we've had our problems up there from the beach ball with Darren Bent. I think it was years and years ago. We've had a few problems up there, But they're a massive thing. They deserve it, and I'm glad that what's good about it is at the moment the ceiling is as high as they want it to be. That they started off so well. Who knows where they can? Yeah, like you say, it could even be a European push. You never know. There could be. It's always one surprise, and it would be great if they could. He's come in. He's done a great job. I've been really impressed with him. How he comes across as a person, as quite calm. He never really lose. I was watching a game the other day. I think it was the I think it might have been the Aston Villa game when someone made a silly challenge and he kicked out, got sent off, didn't lose it. Sometimes people they start getting a little bit, didn't lose it, was calm, made a substitution. You can see him talking to his coach, this is what we're going to do, calm and collected. I like his style. And I'm interested to see how far they can go, So in the short league, Sunderland have gone from being a sleeping giant to a Premier League science project that actually works. It's interesting.
Yeah. I want to make one other point. This sports science thing isn't only happening in Sunderland. Every Premier League club hires professionals, but the difference is that Le Bris is the manager, and so instead of collecting advice and then having meetings where a manager's sitting down with the head sports scientist and they're doing all of this, Le Bris is that guy. He understands it all from the offset, so it's so direct. So the head coach being so involved in all of these sessions and stuff, it means that the information being passed down isn't going on deaf ears. He fully understands it. It's something he is so committed to. It's something that he's put his education into. And so he trusts it. And I think people will acknowledge it a bit more with his success. And if he stays doing what he's doing at the moment, I think people will start to see it a lot more. It's not, like everyone's doing this. You see it everywhere. I mean, Arsene Wenger did it way back in the day when he came to Arsenal and he started saying, smoking, not good, changing diet. That then filtered through. I think we will see it a bit more, but this isn't some new thing in football. It's just a new thing where a manager is taking it on. He's got his doctorates in these fields. Like, he's a proper professional. He is a doctor and a coach. And I think it's just where that ties together is there's a lot more commitment into this biomechanics and all of this stuff. And it means that it's happening quicker. There's a bigger belief in it at Sunderland at the moment. And we're seeing how good it is at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's different when your coaches are saying it or where the sports science team are saying it to the players. But when it's coming from the manager's mouth, your coach who's picking the team and he's giving those instructions, like you said, it's a louder voice, isn't it? It's more impactful on what you do and how you take it. You take it from a coach or a sports scientist. Yeah, he's a sports scientist, but he's not a coach. It doesn't directly affect me getting picked for the team.
Yeah.
If Regis Le Bris telling you that and you're not doing it, that's going to directly affect your performance and your starting lineup place. Because you're not listening to him, you're going to think, well, you're not buying into it. So I know what you mean. It's a louder voice coming from the manager itself directly into that side of it,
Yeah. And it's direct. Like, it isn't filtered through loads of different members of staff until it gets to him. He's there. Everyone in the Premier League's using GPSs and motion capturing and all of this stuff. That's not, biomechanics isn't new. What's new is it being the manager. He is the guy. He's probably as educated, if not more educated, than the guys Sunderland have in the backroom staff. So it's just that difference. And all the other coaches in the Premier League haven't got that. It's something he's got an advantage on. He can shape training. He can develop the youth. He can do his tactics, all with that in mind. So it's just interesting to see. It's a more direct thing from Regis Le Bris. It's worked well in the first year. It's still working now in the Premier League. It'll be interesting to see in January if Sunderland make some changes, who they bring in and why. And then it'll be interesting to see at the end of the season where they finish as a newly promoted team who got through the playoffs. They didn't come through automatically. So that's another thing. You've got to remember they weren't one of the top two. They actually finished fourth. So there's that. Like, I think it's just interesting when it comes from this sort of squad. If this was a new manager that everyone had heard about, it wouldn't be the same thing. But it's like trusting this new process, trusting this new idea. And it'll be interesting to see if we see this happen more where, coaches are not taken on credit of their coaching ability, but more their philosophy. And then they put pen to paper and then start actually building. Because 1 year looks good. This could be a 5-year project. It could be very interesting in the future.
Yeah, I find it quite interesting. Obviously, he's French. And it's Arsene Wenger came in and did this 25 years ago. Obviously, it was different. It's changing the diet, changing this and changing. But it sounds like that school of that, but a bit more advanced nowadays. We've taken it onto the science side of it, whereas Arsene Wenger was more nutritional, look after your bodies, cut drinking out. This seems to me like another step in that same vein, but onto another level now. Like you said, the little tweaks of the hair, the science, that science, sports science side of it. That's really interesting. But so Sunderland, would you agree with me if I said out of the 3 teams that came up, Sunderland have started the brightest? They've done the best.
Definitely.
Out of Leeds, definitely done the best. It's going to be interesting to see when because they have got a few AFCON players when they go on their AFCON duties to see how the team affects it. Can the team deal with it? Because a few of those AFCON players have been really good for them. Adingra, a few of the others, they have played really well. So that's going to be interesting to see, can they keep that up?
Yes, yeah. It isn't forever, obviously. It works out to be possibly 2-ish months, but it's not about really.
2 months. It depends on how far they go in the competition, obviously.
Exactly. Depends on how far they go, depends on how much they're played, because if they're not being played, all they're doing is flying back from AFCON and then they can be straight back into the squad sort of thing. So it does depend on them factors. It's not all of their squad. They have got enough players, but It's just, can they afford to maybe have that decline in form during AFCON where they lose some of the key players? And then will they come straight back and continue as they were and hold their own? Because I think a success for Sunderland is not being relegated. Obviously, that's what everyone needs to focus on. When you come up, just stay up. But right now, mid-table would be an amazing way to have their introduction back into the Premier League. And I think they're really going to be able to push for that. And we're currently looking at them in 9th. It's perfect.
Well, like you said, after 6 games, they had 11 points, and no team has been relegated from the Premier League with that amount of points at that stage. So that's a good omen for them, you know?
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see how they get on for the rest of the season. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on them, check their progress.
It's an exciting thing to wait and be able to watch. And I follow them a lot closer now since our conversations on our podcast and whatnot.
Same,
so, yeah, it's good. It's interesting.
Right then, Lee, we'll leave it there on Regis Le Bris. But that was interesting. We'll have to come back to it, revisit it later on in the year and see how they're getting on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you for joining us on Denied by the Crossbar podcast. Really appreciate your support. Leave likes, comments, and share the podcast if you can. Stick the notification button on so you'll get the podcast come straight through to you. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Catch you next week.
See you later.